Good evening and welcome to the Melissa Cardinals Network. This is Trey Graham and Coach Matt Nally joining you from the dugout. Our weekly edition of the Cardinals Scoreboard Show. We meet here every Monday night at 5:30 p.m. at the dugout. You're invited to come and enjoy dinner and hang out with us as we film the program. We'll introduce you to our offensive and defensive players of the game in just a few minutes. But Matt Nally, how's 4-0 feel?
It feels really good, and once again, like it's so crazy to think that it's week 5, and next week at this time we'll be on the bye week. You're halfway through the regular season, and I mean, you can remember back to the summer and fall camp and just how time is flying.
Final score, Melissa Cardinals 67, the Crandall Pirates 28. We'll talk a lot about that in a minute. 4-0, great start to the year.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Best season start since?
No idea.
We already talked about this in a previous show.
2011.
No.
Oh.
2020.
Oh, okay.
5-0.
Awesome.
Excuse me, when the Paris forfeit we talked about.
Okay, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
What's the best start in school history?
5-0.
7-0.
7-0.
In 2008.
Okay, awesome.
So
awesome.
5-0 in 2020, 7-0 in 2008, 4-0 this year.
We're going to beat that.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. You just heard Coach Manali. Okay, in the Crandall game, Nate Adejokin, 193 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns, averaging 8 yards per carry.
Right.
Great game. He's not even here tonight, but
right.
Another great game from Nate Adejokin.
Right. I mean, once again, it's coming to the creativity of my offensive staff and the innovation that they've done to allow him to do what he does well, which is, I make this comparison and it just is what it is, but he kind of reminds me, I had the opportunity of watching Adrian Peterson high school play, and he kind of reminds me of Adrian Peterson in the regards of he runs so violently. But a lot of things, too, that people don't understand is Nathan is extremely fast. So it allows they've done a great job of allowing him to do what he does best. And, the offensive line is doing amazing, So, I mean, that's something else that people have to, really understand that those 5 boys have done a great job for Nathan Adejoke. And we were trying to do the, how many yards until he gets hit.
Right.
And, it's amazing. It's, there's sometimes he's not getting hit until 12, 13 yards and things like that. And that's, a testament to those 5 boys up front and Jackson Ford.
So I'm older than you. So I wasn't going to go Adrian Peterson comparison. I was going Eric Dickerson.
Yeah. I mean, he just runs so violently, and I use that word
upright,
right,
tall.
And it I use that word, and sometimes it's a negative word, but in football it's a good thing, and he's doing an amazing job for us.
Team offense, you had 580 total yards against Crandall.
That's not bad.
It was about 60-40 run to pass, 327 on the ground, 253 through the air. Trevor Ham, which we'll meet him in a minute, 19 of 25 for 253 yards, 5 touchdowns. I'll ask this to Trevor, but I'll ask you in a minute some trivia about him. Team offense on the season, averaging 493 yards per game.
Go us.
Almost exactly 50-50.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, the thing is a lot of coaches, when I first started, they were all like, you want to be 50-50. And then Mike Leach really came onto the scene, and Mike Leach was like, that shouldn't be a stat that you look for. It should be whatever's working. And I think that's what Coach Russell and Coach Hamilton and the rest of the offensive staff has done a really good job of, is whatever's working is what we're going to continue to do. And you're going to go all the way back to the Argyle game, and the way they attacked Argyle, and then the next game, the way they attacked China Springs. And so, they've done an awesome job, and, kudos to them and hats off to them for what they've done. 50-50, that's awesome.
Yeah, run-pass balance, exactly. Averaging 54.8 points per game on offense.
That's amazing.
Now, it didn't look so much like you were going to score so much early in the game. We'll talk about that. Allowing on the defense 20.5 points per game. So in the victory over Crandall, 67-28, that took the all-time record between Melissa and Crandall to 2-0 for the Cardinals.
Heck yeah.
You are on a district winning streak.
Okay.
How many games?
I have no idea.
18 district games in a row.
Dang right. Go us.
18 district games in a row. And in the last 3.5 seasons, so that's 2020 season, 21 season, 22 season, this season, 3.5 seasons, you are 37-8
That's pretty good.
in the
That's pretty
last
good.
45 games.
But you go back to the kids we had and the coaching staff that we've had, and a lot of that has nothing to do with me and has a lot to do with them. And yeah, so I'm just so humbled to be a part of having something like that and winning 18 games in a row in district play, but being 37-8 in the last 3.5 seasons, it's fun to be a part of that. But obviously, it's such a bigger thing than me, and those coaches and those kids have more to do with it than I do.
You knew this question was coming. Penalty flags.
Yeah, our favorite subject.
Well, yeah, it's a frequent subject if it's not a favorite subject. Melissa, 9 penalties for 86 yards. Crandall, they outdid you. 12 penalties, 125
Yeah,
yards.
yeah.
And then there was a moment in there, and we'll talk about that in a second. But what are we going to do?
The thing is each officiating crew has a life of their own, um, and you try to get to know them before the game. I'd never had this crew before. Um, I knew nothing about them. Coach Harden, who's the coach at Crandall, knew nothing about them. Um, and when you draft officials, um, and
We better call timeout and remind everybody how that process works.
yeah, so you take a full day, and it's every school in the DFW area, and we meet in McKinney, and we draft officials. So it's like drafting a player for the NFL or whatever the case may be, professional sports. But what you do is you rank your games. So you rank your home games, and you sit within your district, and pick your officials that you get. So sometimes you might be like, for me, they were like, what's your number one game? Well, my number one game is Lovejoy. Cool. Well, you might not get the first pick that week. You might get the 50th pick. Um, it just depends on who else is picking and whatnot. It's random, so it's kind of like you never know where you're going to land in the selection process. So um, you might be, you know, like for me with the Lovejoy, I got really lucky. I was high when I got to pick, so I got to pick a crew that I knew, a crew that I trusted. Um, but going back to it, everyone has different interpretations of the rules and things like that. So for me, my biggest thing is when I go into a game and I meet a crew, is I want their um, description of certain rules and things like that. Also, different officiating crews have different opinions in the regards of, am I going to let the kids play? Am I really going to manage the game, which I feel like officials should manage the game. Like for me, if someone calls a holding, they call a hold. If someone calls whatever, it is what it is. But for me, the biggest thing for officials is to keep the kids safe. And I'm not going to bash on an officiating crew or whatever the case may be, but that's with those conversations that we have at the beginning of the game. You kind of get to feel each other out, and you kind of,
And by the way, I had the chance to be in some of those conversations, and I'll tell the audience they're doing the same to you.
correct,
They're asking you a bunch of questions.
correct,
Captains' names, and are you running any trick plays,
right,
and uniform violations, and
correct,
so they're doing an investigation as well.
correct. And it's kind of like speed dating for a little bit. So not that I've ever speed dated, um, but it's kind of like that. But you have an opportunity to kind of figure each other out. So once I figure out kind of who they are, I go back to my coaches and we have a conversation right before we come out. So it's not pregame, but you have that lull period, about 7:10 to 7:20, where you go in and we'll have conversations and whatnot with the players and the kids, or with the players and the coaches about, all right, this is the officiating, this is the type of crew we have. You got to make sure X, Y, and Z, A, B, and C, because there's a lot of crews. Like we went to China Spring, and that crew is like, hey, we don't want to have anything to do with the game. If it's blatant, we're going to call it.
That was the nicest official I've ever met.
They were awesome. And I like those crews. Those crews are like, hey, if it's blatant, we're going to call it. But at the end of the day, it's football. We're going to keep the kids safe, and that's it. And then you have crews that'll be like, we're calling everything. We're going to follow the rule book to the T. and the thing is in any play, in any game, it doesn't matter if it's the NFL or if it's Pee Wee football, there is a foul.
Oh yeah,
You
you
know,
could call holding on every single play.
correct,
Yes.
correct. So it just depends on what kind of crew that you have.
You could call traveling every play in basketball.
Absolutely. So, so it's getting to know them. So before the game, you kind of get a feel, but man, after the first series, you know what you're dealing with. And that was just their personality and whatnot. And we had to adjust to that, and so did Crandall. I mean, me and Coach Harden talked after the game. We both had to adjust to what kind of officiating crew we have, and it is what it is. But that's part of the game too.
There was a moment that we thought you were going to be exiting the building.
Yes, sir.
So normally coaches yell, they complain. I mean, that's what coaches do. That's why you have a hat so you can throw it down and all that stuff. But I mean, this one was a little more serious, a little more intense than the normal.
Yeah, so for me going into the season, I told myself, excuse me, I'm gonna have fun this year, and I'm gonna try to. I mean, the game on Friday is kind of like the test, and it's kind of like the celebration of what we've done all week.
All the hard work, yeah.
Right. And in my 20 years prior to this year, I've never really enjoyed a game. I've always, been high anxiety and not really been in the moment. And enjoy being around the kids and being around the coaches and seeing what everyone's doing and how everyone's. I mean, there's so many wins within a game, um, but yeah. So in that particular case, it goes back to, I, and this is just who I am, and it's just the truth. And I love the kids like they're my own kids, and um, I want to protect my kids. And we're defending it. It is what it is. I'm not going to defend my kid if um, they don't deserve to be defended. But in this particular case, there was a young man on the other team that was doing something consistently on PAT field goal, and I'm 5'8.5" on a good day. And there's a crown on the field, so I can barely see on the other side. But I have people in the box and whatnot that tell me about what's going on. So, we're telling me about a situation with a kid, and our kid.
Meaning, Crandall, in their opinion, Melissa Coach's opinion, was committing a foul repeatedly that was not being called.
Correct. So I go to the white hat and I'm like, hey, sir, this is what and I did early in the game. Sir, this is what I'm hearing. Yes, sir. We'll look into it. It continued to go, and we scored 67 points, so this happened a bunch. So I continue to say, hey, this is what I'm hearing. This is what I'm hearing, and nothing was done. Well, at this point in time in the game, I'm going to just watch this one kid, which I probably should have done it before that, but it just entered my brain. I'm just going to watch him. So I moved down the field so I could actually see it. Now, I mean, I was already illegal because I was inside probably the 10 when I did it.
Because there's a coach's box to the 25-yard line. You're not supposed to go outside.
Correct. And so I could see. And besides that, I mean, what the kid was telling me, I was like, there's no way that's not happening. And then it happened. And it's the way the kid described it and the way the coaches described it. So I waited for the call. Now I did say the official's name. Hey, look, um, and it happened, and then they threw the flag, and I was like, okay, great, thank you. And then they called it on our kid, and that's when, I hate to be this way, but it's my kid. You know what I mean? And my kid, I felt like in that situation, was being in a situation where he wasn't safe, and yeah, I probably lost my mind a little bit too much. And the crazy thing is um, I did get a flag thrown on me, and I was probably fixing to get escorted and said, "Hey, man, peace out. You need to leave." And at that point in time, in that situation, I didn't care. I wanted that kid to be taken care of, and um, but when you look back and you reflect on it, like what I did in our Sunday meeting yesterday was like, okay, if if that's the way that I'm going to act in those situations, I got to have somebody who has a little bit cooler head than me in that situation. So I did assign a coach to myself. That's a thing that's going on in the NFL and college football, where there's a coach assigned to the head coach, um, and that coach is going to be Coach Spencer, and that coach is going to be rough with me. I'm old school in the regards of, like, when I first started coaching, there wasn't you. It was the 20 to the 20, but you could be on the field, like you could do whatever you wanted to do, really. And so if you'll notice, sometimes in games, I'll be almost to midfield, and they'll be
We
like,
noticed.
"Hey,
Yes. Yeah.
you need to move back." But I need somebody that's going to pull me back, and I need somebody that's going to make me shut up, and things like that. And to be honest with you, throughout the entire game, even though there's a lot of flags and whatnot, holdings and false starts and things like that, I was enjoying the game. I mean, I really enjoy watching our kids compete, but I really enjoy watching other kids compete. And the thing that I really mostly enjoy is watching how the other team attacks us defensively, and how the other team tries to scheme us defensively. And it's so neat to see the chess game that goes forward or through it. And my small part that I have within the game is something that that's neat for me and it's fun. Um, but I do feel like, if I feel like all the kids have an alley on their back, and in that moment, I probably daddy bared out, and I shouldn't have. But like I told the kids on Saturday, I'm never going to defend, or I'm never going to apologize for defending you. Um, so there's that story.
I tell you all the time, you're only going to get this insider scoop when you watch the Cardinal Scoreboard show. We do need to introduce our offensive and defensive players of the game. We'll do that in just a second. Our offensive player of the game, quarterback Trevor Ham, will be coming up. We mentioned he threw for 5 touchdowns. He's played 18 games. I'll tell him this too, but he's played 18 games as a Cardinal.
That's awesome.
How many touchdown passes in 18 games?
Okay, so uh, I'm gonna tell you the truth. That's all.
You
Just
just looked at
expect,
my
yeah,
paper, yeah. 59 touchdowns in 18 games.
Yes,
That's
sir.
pretty good.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's unbelievable. Honestly, if you think about it, like, um, I don't know off the top of my head, but I want to say Brendan was probably in the 80s. I want to say Sam was probably in the 80s. Um, and then I mean, he's just as special as those kids. So, but I mean, I think Brendan threw 88 in 3 seasons. And then Sammy, I think, threw 82 or 80 in 2 years. So, but yeah, I mean, he's right on track to do some really special things.
And our defensive player of the game, linebacker Grayson Donahoe.
The thing about Donahoe is um, he played defensive line forever, and a lot. This is a fun fact about Grayson. A lot of people don't know this. Grayson's probably top 3 fastest kids on our team. Like, we have
And
had,
he's a big fella.
yeah, we've had massive conversations about moving him to running back. He played that position a little bit on the sub varsities, but he is like lightning fast. Um, but when it goes to Trev and it goes to Grayson, um, they're extremely smart. They have high football IQs. I've been around Grayson Donahoe his entire life, and it's fun, like I said before, to watch him grow up and get to this point. And Grayson is so fun to talk to just because of the fact he is so intelligent, and he's going to grow up and be super successful in whatever he does. He already has a plan. Like, I can remember being 17 years old, and I didn't have a plan for the day, but he already has a plan for life. And so that was what makes me the most excited about him is he's just so driven in everything that he does, and he is a heck of a football player.
You're going to get to meet Trevor Ham and Grayson Donahoe right after this break. We do invite you and your family to join us in our church home at First Melissa Sunday mornings, 9 a.m. or 10:15 a.m. Go to firstmelissa.com to find out more. We'll take a break and introduce you to Trevor and Grayson, and then we'll come back and talk more with Coach Matt Nally right after this. Welcome back to the Cardinal Scoreboard Show. This is Trey Graham with our Offensive Player of the Week for the big victory over Crandall. This is senior quarterback Trevor Ham, and you've been here before.
Yes, sir.
Welcome back. First time this season.
Yes, sir.
So let's go back a little bit. How long have you lived in Melissa?
I moved here spring of last year, or spring of my sophomore year. So,
So like a year and a half,
yeah,
right?
probably a year. Yeah, half.
Moved from,
McKinney.
okay. How is Melissa different than McKinney?
Oh, McKinney is a big town. Melissa's a smaller town. It's definitely growing. It's going to get to the size of McKinney here soon, but everything here is so much more tight knit. Family setting, family environment. It wasn't like that in McKinney. They had 3 high schools, but here, everybody centers around Melissa High School. One high school, so it's awesome.
Do you know how many games you've played for, Melissa?
Oh,
18 is
I
the
would say
number.
probably near 20.
Okay, 18. How many touchdown passes in 18 games?
Oh, I have no clue.
59.
Really?
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. You were 19 of 25 passing, 253 through the air with 5 touchdowns against Crandall. So congratulations. The final score was 67 to 28. And so I know what a good quarterback's supposed to do. You're supposed to brag on all your receivers right now.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Oh, those guys make it so easy on me. I mean, I could throw a 5-yard hitch, and as we saw in the past 4 games, I could throw a 5-yard hitch, and they're going to take it 80 yards to the house. So they really make my job easy. Same with the guys up front. I can sit back there all day, just go through my progressions, do what I need to do.
You need to brag on the O-line, too.
Those guys have been, obviously it doesn't show up on the stat sheet or anything, but those guys are why this offense is so good, on the run game. Obviously Nate is explosive back. He's running like a grown man this year. He's really taken steps over the summer and off season to get to where he's at, and it shows. But those guys up front, that's why we're so explosive. So
I'm sure I asked you this last year, but your favorite class in school is?
forensic sciences.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, something that's always interested me.
Okay.
So,
what do you want to do after high school?
I plan on getting my degree in psychology. So.
Okay. And what about football-wise?
I mean, wherever it takes me, I'm living in God's glory right now. So, all the blessings that He's given me and the opportunity that I have, not only at, high school level, but to go get an education.
How's the recruiting process?
It's good.
Yeah? You enjoy it?
Yeah.
Stressful?
A little bit, yeah. I'm near making a decision right now, so.
You ready to make an announcement?
I don't know, not yet.
Okay. But you'll come back here and do it?
Hopefully.
Okay.
That's the plan.
Okay.
But yeah, near a decision, so.
Do you want to give like your top 5 choices or anything like that?
Not yet, because I haven't really announced anything yet. So I'm going to talk to the coaches that are recruiting me right now. I got a couple visits coming up.
Good.
So I think after that, that's when I'll announce it.
Okay. And just talk about Coach Nally and the coaching staff and what you've learned from them.
Yeah, I mean, they've taught me so much. Obviously, last year I came in here as a sophomore, or a year and a half ago I came in as a sophomore. I was just a new kid. But they've taught me so much in the system that we run. I feel so much more comfortable this year than I did last year, and I think that's not only in part because of the coaches, but the teammates that I have around me. Carson, Lincoln, Nate. We have young offensive line, but they've helped me out so much, doing the best they can to make sure I'm comfortable. And same with them. Everything that I can do to make them comfortable is what I'm trying to do. So they've helped me so much to grow to be the player I am, and then also the person off the field. I mean, our character education and stuff like that. So.
Well, congratulations for being our offensive player of the game. Senior quarterback Trevor Ham joining us here at the dugout. We'll take a break, and you'll get to meet our defensive player of the game right after this.
Spot the ball at the 35-yard line. Cardinals offense in a hurry, trying to put the first points on the board tonight. Again, Twins left to the short side. Ham looks that way, has Maynard open on a post route into the end zone. It's going to be caught. Touchdown, Cardinals. 35 yards out. Trevor Ham to Carson Maynard. And touchdown, Cardinals. First and goal from the 4. Ham in the shotgun. 2 receivers to the short side. And they're going to roll left, throw it left to Jackson Ford, who goes in for an easy touchdown. And he has to hurdle the big horn thing over there of the Pirates. But he hurdles that successfully. And the future Oregon Duck scores the Cardinals' 3rd touchdown of the night. They lead 20-7. Here comes the man wearing white shoes. Sham spot the ball at the 19 of the Pirates. And Ham straight drop, has a lot of time, and he's going to drift left, throw it late into the corner of the end zone. It's going to be up, and it's going to be a catch. Is he inbounds? Touchdown, Cardinals. Touchdown, Carson Maynard. His second touchdown grab of the night. That's what you call, the coaches say, high point the football. Nice patience by Maynard. That was a little bit of reminiscent of the Lovejoy game when they took the lead in the last minute. Roll left in a new formation. Cardinals have 2 wing backs, and Dunn's in the backfield. They're going to do a pitch, and it's going to be Nate Adjokin. 1 play, touchdown Cardinals from 34 yards out. The pitch pass, and Nate Adjokin takes it to the house.
That was a great play design by Coach Russell in the offense. Pirates did not see that coming at all. Nate was untouched the entire play. Touchdown Cardinals.
And they've pushed that lead out to 41-14.
Welcome back to the dugout. This is Trey Graham with our defensive player of the game in the victory over Crandall. This is linebacker Grayson Donahoe. Congratulations and welcome.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Have you been to the dugout before?
No, sir.
Really? So
No.
you've never been on the show, never been to the dugout?
No, sir.
Pretty cool place.
Yes, sir. It's cool.
All right. So have you watched the show?
Yes.
Okay. And you got to see Trevor Ham?
Yes,
So
just now.
Just do what Trevor does, all right?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
How long have you lived in Melissa?
I've lived here since I was in kindergarten, so about, 12 years?
Okay.
About 12 years.
And a junior on the team now.
Yes, sir.
Who have you looked up to as players? Who've been your role models?
I looked up to Cave for his
Jason
passion.
Cave, right?
Jason Cave,
Right.
for his passion for the team, and then Whitwer for his
Dalton Whitwer?
yes,
Okay.
sir,
All
for
right.
his dedication to the team.
Okay. And how many years on varsity?
This is my first year starting. I got moved up for playoffs last year, but this is technically my first year on
Okay.
varsity.
And talk about, for people who don't know, there's a difference between JV football and varsity football.
There's definitely a difference between JV football and varsity football. The O-line, the lines are a big difference, way bigger, way more physical people on the lines. Definitely harder to go against, but also works in my favor for the D-line that I have.
They're pretty talented.
Yes, sir.
So the victory over Crandall, what was the game plan going in?
So the game plan was to play the run, and when they started playing pass, we'd also play pass. But we had some trouble with some inside run, so we just had to make a correction, and that's where the game went. Started stopping them more.
Talk about what Nate Hemsley and the coaches have taught you.
So Nate Hemsley and the coaches have taught me dedication, because they stay up late. They do a lot for the team. They work every single day of the week. They're there for way longer than anybody knows. So just dedication and hard work and persistence. Yes, sir.
Favorite class in school?
Coach Witt's health ed class. He's a really good teacher. He knows how to teach, and he knows how to make it fun and interactive when he is teaching, so it's easier to learn.
Do you play other sports?
I run track.
Really?
Yes, sir.
So you and Lincoln Dunn run track together?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is he faster than you?
You faster than me. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
yeah. Okay. Because when he was here on the show, he says he's the fastest on the team. Do you agree?
He is the fastest on the team.
Okay. All right. And what do you want to do after high school?
After high school, I want to either start my own business or get into real estate. One of
Okay.
those two.
What kind of business?
Haven't really thought about that. I always just thought God will give me the opportunity when it's time.
All right. And talk about the support from the Cardinal fans.
I love the support. I love how moving into a bigger stadium, we don't have trouble really filling it up like some schools may have. But even with the bigger stadium, we can still fill up that fan section pretty well.
Our defensive player of the game for the victory over Crandall was linebacker number 34, Grayson Donahoe. Congratulations.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We'll take a break and come back and talk more with Coach Matt Nally right after this.
Hand the ball off on 1st and 10. And the ball's on the ground. The Cardinals jump on it, and the officials need to make a call. And the Cardinals think they have it, and now our referee tells us Cardinals football. Cardinals forced a 3-and-out on their first drive, and they forced a fumble on the second drive, and Melissa will take over. They're going to run it again and take it to the 41. It'll be 3rd and 1. Mary Jo checks in. Excuse me, Danny Preston checks in. Danny and Amy from West Texas. They're going to hand the ball off. They may be content to run the clock out here. They say Mrs. Weaver and I are going to watch Brendan Lewis next week in San Marcos. Snap the ball back, hand the ball, going left to Anderson and going nowhere.
He's not going to get it. That's right into the hands of Micah Finan and Grayson Donahoe. Big stop. We'll see if the Pirates decide to go from it from their own 34-yard line, but they're about a half yard away from the first down mark.
Hi, this is Trey Graham. Welcome back to the Dugout. This is the Cardinal Scoreboard Show along with Coach Matt Nally, and you just met Trevor Ham and Grayson Donahoe, our offensive and defensive players of the game. Let's ask a educate the fans question.
Mm-hmm.
How does scouting and film scouting work?
You know, it's changed. You know, when I was a young coach, it was everything was on VHS, and so you know I was the young guy, so I would have to go. Me and the other rookie or young coach would go meet the staff halfway, and you did it about 7. You did it on Saturday morning about 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, and you would meet at a gas station or you'd meet at McDonald's or whatever.
The infamous Dairy Queen.
Right.
Yes.
You know, you would meet at those places, and you would exchange 3 films
Of your upcoming opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so, and then you would bring them back, and then you know do the, and I can walk through that here in a second, and then when you would go and you'd play them, you would give those 3 films back.
Because you can't spare a videotape.
Yeah. So you give them back, and then the DVD came, and it was the same situation with the DVD. You just traded 3 DVDs, and then when Huddle came, Huddle changed everything.
This is an online software package where you can just call up, a million varieties of plays and situations. You can call up all the 1st and 10 plays or the 3rd and short plays and all that.
It's revolutionized scouting in football forever. You know, I mean, you can talk to Duke Sparks, and what they used to do is no joke, they would fly over and drop it with a little parachute onto the football field when he was young. You know, on the whatever you call those things.
Reel to reel.
Yeah. So
splicing the things together.
Yeah. So so Huddle revolutionized everything. So that's why I really feel like, when I was a young kid, you would get to a point where, I've watched too much film because you just rewind, play. Whereas now you can go to Huddle and you can make your own cut-ups, and you can say, okay, here's 1st and 10. Okay, well, here's 2nd and 8. Or here's 2nd and medium. Here's 3rd, long, short, blah, 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 blah. So now you can, all right, what am I going to concentrate on today? Well, I'm going to concentrate on my openers. So, okay, cool, all 1st and 10s, and or I'm going to concentrate inside the 10 or whatever. So it's really changed things. So with Huddle and how scouting works, so once again, when I was young, you would send coaches to the opposing games for the players that your teams you're about to play. You wanted the snap count. You wanted to know how many people were on the sideline that were in street clothes. Did someone get hurt in the regards of, are they on crutches, or did they have?
There's still value in having somebody physically at the game.
100%. But with Huddle, you get a wide view, and this is the thing too. Like when it was VHS, it was just one view. Well, now you get a wide view and you get a tight view, and so on the wide view, I mean, it just is what it is. You get to the wide, push pause, and you can be like, okay, there's 18 in street clothes. There's 6 in street clothes. There's 3. He's got a boot on. You know what I mean? You're just taking notes. And the same thing, like if it's a game and you're like, oh, there's 18. 18, okay. He walks off, and you click on, like 2 or 3 plays. Okay, there he is. He's on the medical table. Oh, looks like he might have broke his wrist. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you can see those things. But what we do now is football is all about situations. And, you do so Saturdays, and I say that's wrong. Wednesdays we get film. So in ours, we have a pool, so you get everyone's film. So like I'll
In the
have
district.
in the district, yes, I'll have Lovejoy's all 10 games. Like Terrell, we have all their 4 games they've already played. Well, that's not normally what goes on. It's the 3 games that you want. But like I said, so Wednesdays we have all those films. So we break it up and we do what we call homework. And so each coach has a different thing. So like for an example, Coach Goggin has all third downs. So he'll break it and have cut ups for 3rd and 10, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 8, blah 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 blah. And then when we do our scouting report, well then he'll have all that data. And that's another thing Huddle does too. Huddle will like do the math for you. Whereas when I was young, it was all right.
With a clipboard and a
Yes,
pencil.
and
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
sitting there trying to like figure it out. You don't have a cell phone either, so you're like going back to 10th grade math trying to figure this stuff out. So Huddle does all those things, so it's quicker, but it's still time consuming. But it's the same thing on the defensive side. So Wednesday, Thursday, we take Friday off, so we're just concentrating on the opponent, and then Saturday we try to split those games up. So by Sunday, when we have our meetings, all situations are already done in the regards of data. So we've already collected data, we've already have the analytics and all that stuff by Sunday. So we sit down and we talk about, okay, in this situation, give you an offensive one. So in this situation, it's 3rd and 9. Middle of the field's open, so that means they have 2 safeties. Middle of the field's open. Their stunt is 31%. Their blitz is 58%. Their 5-man pressures or whatever. Blah 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 blah. So then we can start breaking it down. Okay, look, they're bringing pressure a lot on 3rd and 9. So we need to make sure that we're 7-man protecting, or at least 6-man protecting. We're not going to be 5-man protecting. It's the same thing in short yardage. All those things come into play. So, but it makes the game a little bit, honestly, easier than when I was a kid.
Sure. It's not all a gut call.
Right. When I was a kid, I felt like, when people ask me, "Oh man, where'd you learn how to watch film?" Well, when you were a kid, or when I was a kid, I mean, that's literally you just had the VHS tape, and you were kind of teaching yourself. But in my opinion, you had to watch so much more tape, and you had to be more in tune to what's going on, just because of the fact of there was no program helping you out. You know what I mean? So, and once again, I'm biased to that stuff too. If Coach Goggin or Coach Hamilton were sitting there, they would be like, "Huddle's the greatest thing ever." It helps us, blah 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 blah, and it's way better than what they used to do. And but I'm biased to those old days, but it's fun. To me, that's where the chess pieces go, is when you're watching those film, those game tapes in the regards of, and you get your data report, and this is how they line up, and this is their blitz stunt, and whatever the case may be, field boundary, and yada yada. But once again, it comes back down to is situations. So that's where most of our game planning comes in, is situations. And we don't just game plan on a Sunday. We game plan um, Wednesday. This is before we play them. So Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we have situations. So Monday for my defense is red zone. So they really harp on all form rec and things like that, how we're going to line up in our base, and then they scheme red zone. And then Tuesday they're going to scheme, or Monday evening when we're done, what they're doing right now is they're scheming 3rd downs. So blah blah blah. That's kind of how it works throughout the week. And it just makes it easier, because I've done it before where Saturday you're up there and you're doing all your base stuff, and you're doing your openers and whatnot, and then Sunday you're doing everything. You're doing your red zone, your goal line, your field boundaries, your tendency breakers, your anything and everything you could possibly think of, and it makes the weekend so long. But it also, in my personal opinion, the way that we do it now is better, just because of the fact of Sunday you're already worn out, your mind really isn't clicking, and then it hits you on Tuesday. Oh my gosh, I should have done X, Y, and Z within the game plan, and that's happened multiple times. When I was the offensive coordinator, even here, it'd be Tuesday or Wednesday, I'd be like, oh man, I wish I'd have thought of that. Now don't get me wrong, we won a football game because of what we did on a Wednesday. I thought, man, that's not bad. I got it from another coach. A coach was like, hey, might want to think about doing this. And I was thinking, man, that's kind of smart. And we put it in, and We worked it on Wednesday, we worked it on Thursday, and we beat Salina with it on Friday.
So there is a reason for doing all this.
Yes.
And huddle's great for coaches. It's good for announcers too, by the way.
Heck yeah.
So it helps us as well. We do need to focus on this Friday, 7:30 p.m. kickoff at Coach Steele Stadium. Terrell is in town. Cardinals are 4-0. Terrell is 3-1. They were 3-0 in the non-district. Then they lost this past Friday. Lovejoy 34, Terrell 20. What do we need to know about Terrell?
I mean, they're going to be an old school team. They're going to run the wing T. They got a great running back in Chase Bingham. Coach Sedbury really believes in those old school values of, playing really good defense and owning the clock. So we got to make sure that we're taking care of our possessions on offense and we're getting them off the field on defense. The thing about old school defenses or old school offenses is, the guards are going to take you to the play. But we got to have great eye discipline because we're going to pull guards or they're going to pull guards and then they're going to sneak the quarterback out and throw boots and things like that our safeties can't be lulled to sleep in the regards because they're going to run it, and then they're going to try to get you with a pass. So that's something that's going to be a big thing for us this week and in that regard. But offensively, we got to take care of possessions and we have to score with our possessions.
We mentioned earlier you are averaging about 55 points per game.
Yes, sir.
So do that again and you'll win.
Yeah, dang right.
All-time series between Terrell and Melissa is
I have no
Melissa
idea.
4-0.
Hey, dang right.
Including 2 wins last year.
Oh, yeah.
One in the regular season, one in the playoffs.
Yep.
So make sure you're by the channel this Friday night, 7:30 kickoff. The Melissa Cardinals hosting the Terrell Tigers. And make sure you come and join us next Monday night at the Dugout, 5:30 p.m. as we film the Cardinal Scoreboard show. And make sure you join us Sunday morning at First Melissa, 9 a.m. or 10:15 a.m. Go to firstmelissa.com to find out about our church home. Subscribe to Melissa ISD on YouTube so you can watch our show every week. And we'll say thank you again to Trevor Ham and Grayson Donahoe, and thanks to the great folks here at the Dugout. And for Coach Matt Nally, this is Trey Graham saying good night from the Z-Plex.